Hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. Tyler and I are excited to hop on and do our channeling sessions that we normally do with each other on the weekends, and we thought that it could be interesting to start sharing with you what we like to access, some of the questions that we like to ask, and we know that there is a lot of craziness going on in the world right now. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of high energies, and because of these high energies, it's really easy to kind of get caught up in losing yourself in the frequency of kind of what's going on in the world. And I mentioned this on my stories yesterday. I mean, of course, be there for the cause in any way that you can, physically here in the 3D, and also know that now more than ever is a time to hold your vibration, to hold your frequency, to be there for others, and also to really be sure to take care of yourself, because your frequency, your vibration has the power to shift the energy of what's going on right now. And so if you're a light worker, if you have energy work in your practices, somatic practices, breath work, yoga, like anything that helps calm the nervous system right now, it's critical.
And especially your thoughts. Every single thought you have is a lot more powerful than you think. So make sure the thoughts you're having about those affected are very positive, loving thoughts. And just send as much love and light as you possibly can in all directions constantly. And that's going to help people more than anything.
We're doing a lot of that right now. We're using our Reiki. We have sent Reiki to you through this live right now. We have added as much energy as we can to send your way for you to use as you need at this time. What we're going to be doing in our channeling is we're just asking random questions really about the universe, is a lot of what Tyler's really interested in. It's been really fun for me to tap into that too. So we're just asking questions that are of, just interesting to us, but also help us understand our soul self more, help us understand the planet. It's a way for us to raise our frequency. So let us know what you think.
Yeah, I'm constantly especially curious about my journey because, my awakening happening just a little over a year ago, and things have happened very fast for me. So I have a lot of questions of the things I'm feeling, thinking, experiencing as this journey unfolds very quickly. So it's fun to get those figured out together, especially. And lately I've been actually getting a lot of the answers myself as I've been evolving, but I still like to do these sessions with her because it's like a fun activity we can do together. And it's a confirmation, just like everybody else wants confirmation. You know everything already. We all have a memory of all this, but this is going to be confirming what you already know and filling in gaps. So when I do this with her, it fills in some of the gaps that I'm just a little unsure about, things that I'm not quite ready to trust in what my ego is trying to tell me, what my highest self is trying to tell me. So she really helps confirm to me what my highest self is trying to tell me with her highest self. And she's had a lot more experience in this with me, like 9 more years of it. So she's a very trusted source that I can make sure that I'm getting the correct messages from my highest self.
I love that. And maybe this will spark some questions within you. If there's things that you've been interested in, if this sparks anything within you, I'm always here for readings. If you are looking to access your superpowers, spiritual mentorship, now more than ever, to be able to access your superpowers, use your energy, hold your light, hold your frequency. This path is all about holding more light, and it's about integrating your highest self with you here now. And so that is what some of these questions really do for us, is give us more of that access. And what we're calling it now, because like channeling is kind of a buzzword, but we find that it doesn't fully encompass exactly what we're doing. And so what we're doing is we are accessing causal consciousness. Do you want to talk about the causal?
Yeah, so there's more than this in reality, but just to keep things more simple, there's physical reality, astral reality, and causal reality. The whole universe, everything is here and now, but you could think of it as like divided by different dimensions, different planes of existence. There's about 7 planes of existence where source self is in the 7th plane. And right now we're in the 1st plane of existence, which is physical existence, the lowest reality possible. So we're trying to kind of sift in our questions. We're trying to sift through like our personal journeys, what's going on, asking questions about the universe. At first, when we started doing this, I was like really curious about specific dimensions, specific planes of existence. We'll get a little bit into that, but as I'm going through my journey, I'm realizing it's not as important about the specifics. It's more important about how we're feeling in our journeys, how much we're helping other people. So my questions have kind of like matured over time, I would say. But yeah, physical reality, astral reality, and causal reality. Physical reality, obviously physical reality, everything we can see, hear, touch, all the five senses, what we are aware of with our five senses. Astral is above that. That's basically when we're not in physical form. We can come in and out of physical form as we desire. And then causal is even higher than that. It's basically, you're like an energy bubble. It seems kind of silly to say, but you're basically like a floating energy bubble, can go into any form you choose, project your consciousness anywhere you choose. It's a very high, it's one of the highest states of consciousness that souls can experience. And our highest selves, we've channeled this before many times, come from the causal realm. We are very old souls who've been around for a very long time. And the causal realm is a very, very limitless reality that we're coming to find out. There's a lot you can do. There's a lot you can see. There's a lot you can experience there, and we're kind of bringing it here and now. Everything is here and now. It's not like some place is way off in the distance, like our source self is way off in the distance, the causal self is way off in the distance. It's actually here and now. It's inside of us here and now, and you're removing layer by layer of yourself, the ego, the human ego, to get to your source self, your highest self, which is going to lead you to your source self, which is the highest self we all have. So it's all here and now. You're just removing the layers of human ego that's blocking you from accessing your true self. And that's what we're trying to do.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what we're all doing.
All right, let's get into the questions.
Okay. So it's... to explain it this way, it doesn't actually work like this, but we picture like there's a higher power above us, like in the heavens and the clouds, but it's actually all here and now. So there's one thing that exists in all reality, and that's source. Source is all of us. We're all part of it. The one is the many. So that one source self was just literally one at one point in time, and it wanted to know itself, so it started creating a dream reality to experience itself in many different human forms, alien forms, you name it, all kinds of different forms of existence in a dream. And so because only one thing exists, but it appears like many things exist, you have to lower yourself from source, become an individual in the dream state, and then experience reality as you please. So that's what we're all doing right now, just at different levels. We all come from we all separated from source at different times, but it's all us. We are all source. We are all that one thing, having our own individual experience from source, all right now. So with that said, I had a question. Are all of us here on earth, we really don't remember what we are because we've never been an individual from our source self before, until we went on this journey of self-discovery. So some of us remember being more than human and having immense power, but we don't realize the extent of what it is exactly. And there's a veil of forgetting, which I want to kind of get into as well. But the question is, we really don't remember being an individual of source self because this is the first time that we've ever been an individual from source. So is my question is that correct? I'm kind of having a hard time saying it, but do we not remember being source right now because this is the first time? Do we not remember at this individual state because this is our first time experiencing source as an individual?
As
it's hard
human.
to word it. As human, yeah. But not even as human. We have other alien lives, other life form lives, other non-physical lives. So do we just not remember being an individual from source because this is our first time doing it?
Yeah, because there's different timelines of what beings are experiencing, and so the human experience has almost nothing to do with the experience that like a higher frequency being is experiencing. Can you reword the part again about source and experiencing for the first time? Like experiencing.
So yeah, we have to lower our consciousness from source. So pure source is just pure consciousness, pure awareness, and then we lower ourselves into more energy beings, and we can experience being human beings, for example, in third dimension. So that's where we are right now. So we lowered ourselves to have a human experience. This is obviously not the first human experience we've had, or many people have had. Why don't we remember, basically? Like, talk about the veil of forgetting. So why is the veil so strong that we don't remember being? Most of us don't remember being more than what we are right now. We think we're so human. Why do we think we're so human and we're nothing else?
Well, it is a part of the experience of why we're here. Like, we do it on purpose because of this earth being school. So we're in 3D earth school right now, and a part of that is forgetting. So it's like a game that we play with ourselves where we came here to forget. But the thing is we didn't forget our source self. It's like encoded in us. It's encoded in our DNA, but our human perception of remembering is to remember here, but we're actually remembering from here. So it's an illusion that we forget, which is actually kind of the first time that we're hearing it this way. So yes, we hear that we forget because there's a thick veil between the dimensions, between the densities, where it feels like it's a film that we cannot access, that we can't penetrate as human. And so there's this illusion. The veil is actually more of an illusion than it is physical. And yeah, and also we have this perception that the veil is above us, or that the veil is physical, or the veil is something that we have to get through. But really all of the remembering that we're doing is that source code embedded in our DNA, in our heart center, in our heart chakra. So we choose to incarnate in this life to forget, because it is almost like a science experiment. Humanity, in the way that it is perceived now, hasn't been around for a long time. Humanity has been around longer than we know, but in the way that we see it now, it has not. And so because of that, it is like a science experiment where we chose to forget more than ever, and to see what it actually takes for humans to access this heart-centeredness and to access this remembering, although you never forgot. It's almost like when you read a book. Maybe you read this book when you were 12 years old, and then you go put it on the bookshelf. And if you were to open that book in your 30s, it would feel so familiar, and there are things that you would remember, and there are things that you would forget, and then there's drawing the connection together where you're reading the book again, and you're like, okay, I remember this, I don't remember that, now that makes sense, now it's all coming together. So it's more that we're connecting dots, but this illusion of the veil, an illusion of our source self being outside of us, is probably one of the biggest misconceptions in spiritual teachings right now. And it's not necessarily the teachers that are doing it, but it's in the perception of the students, where we hear a certain concept and we use our human analytical brain to analyze, or to use logic to put it together. And so it's forgetting everything that you know about logic, and knowing that there is nothing outside of us and there is nothing to break through. It's just the unpeeling
You're
layers.
You're removing layers, yeah. You're removing what's blocking.
Did that answer the question?
Kinda. It's like, but we have, I'm not talking about just this human lifetime, but just all the lifetimes we've lived, aside from even human lives. Like, this is our first time ever experiencing being an individual.
No.
Not just in this life. That's like, it's hard to say because I'm not just speaking
like
in this
soul.
human life. Yeah, like our soul. This is a first, not this lifetime right here, but this is the first time we've ever separated ourselves, illusory separating ourselves from source. We've never experienced being an individual before we came down from source. I'm not talking about just this life. Even before, like the very first
separation from source.
The very first experience we had separating yourself from source
is the first time.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the first time. So this is all our first time. That's why we don't remember being an individual from source, because none of us have been an individual from source before after we dropped down. That was the first time experiencing it. And so who knows like how many lifetimes, I mean, we know how many human lifetimes we had, but ever since we dropped down, that was our first experience being apart from our source self.
I'm just doing it again through channeling. Is this our lives?
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, we've channeled multiple times how many human lives that we've lived. And it's funny because, like, when I channel, there are things that I usually don't remember. I tell Tyler, like, he has to remind me of things because I forget. But it's interesting because I could channel, I could write down exactly how many human lives that we've lived. And we've done this for a lot of people. So if you're ever curious, it's definitely something that we could do through channeling. But I just like to play with it because when I ask numbers and names, are sometimes the hardest to channel. So it's just like,
it's easy to second guess yourself with numbers.
That's my personal challenge, just because numbers aren't really my strong suit. And so it's fun for me to even test my own channeling to see if the same thing comes up every time, which it does 100% of the time. So this one's mine, right?
Yeah.
So 1237, so 1,237 human lives, and Tyler's 1,250.
And so that doesn't mean someone is more experienced or less experienced than someone. It means that it took me more human experiences to get to where she is. So I was a slower learner. That's how I look at it.
But it's also not a comparison. Like, there is no fast, there is no slow, there is no, like...
It's all the own person's journey.
You don't... Like, there's an illusion of this whole, like, life path, life purpose. Like, there's this one thing that we're here to do, or, like... Awakening is like the number one thing, and it's like wherever you are in your journey is exactly where you're supposed to be. So it takes a lot of like pressure off too, which is really fun.
And yeah, some people have had 3,000 something human experiences, 5,000, 10,000. Like
we know someone who has had one. This is their first human incarnation.
And it doesn't matter. Like no one's better than or no one's less than. It's just like they have made challenges and choices for themselves. And they've chosen to live that many lives. And it's more perspective. The more human lives you've had, the more alien lives you've had, and other beings' lives you've had, it's just more perspective. You gain more perspective of your source self, and you have more experience. You're an older soul. It's actually a really cool thing. It's not like, oh, they took so long to realize their source self, so many lives. Like, it doesn't matter. We're all on our own individual journey. And I think to me, that's a lot. Like 1,250 lives, that's a lot. Like, it kind of makes me feel like, man, like, why is it taking me this long to figure out? But I'm thinking with my human brain right now. Maybe my highest self had a different plan. It wanted to live this many lives to gain as much perspective of itself as it could. So that's just the way it is.
I feel like I want to answer this question. We weren't going to do questions, but I think it's a good one. Hello, by the way. What if you're stuck and can't move forward because of your situation? I'm gonna kind of channel what comes through with what we've already been talking about to kind of tune in, just to get it not from us, but just from the causal. So being stuck is also an illusion. So you're actually not stuck. There is nothing holding you back. There is nothing that you cannot push through. But the more that you tell yourself I'm stuck, the more that it becomes true, because your words, your intention, all of that holds weight. And so first it's letting go of the illusion that you are stuck. It's like if you perpetuate the story that's coming up, it's only going to be true. So it's finding the situations in which you feel stuck and reverse engineering what is the root cause of what you're feeling. Because the first thing that you need to do is change your mind, and then you can change your life. You say that a lot, which is so true. It's like, everything comes from within. There is nothing in the outside that can affect you if you do not allow it to. And that's even true with like big shit that's going on in the world right now. Like, you get to decide how you feel each and every moment. And each and every moment you have a choice to shift that. So that's a big part of this like spiritual awakening journey and shifting in consciousness, is understanding that you can shift your mind second by second by second, and your thoughts are either serving you or they're working against you. And the more that you learn to witness that, the more that you start to uncover the things that you can actually do here in the now to not feel or be stuck anymore. You want to add to that?
Yeah, so Most of my life, I have been actually a very negative person. I was creating a hell of my own mind, and I would be unhappy with my living circumstances, with my job, with my future goals. Like I just had no idea what I was going to do. I was constantly worrying about this and that, just like creating the hell in my own mind. So what I found is when you can change your perspective, change your awareness, be the awareness of your situation instead of being stuck in the situation, because you can always pull yourself back from the situation and be the awareness of the situation. What I realized is that none of my circumstances needed to change. That was all fine. I had to change my perspective of it. Once I became the awareness of it, I changed my perspective, and I was now happy with me without changing any of my circumstances. I became happy with myself and me and realized anything's possible. There's infinite potential. Any thoughts I'm having, they're just thoughts, and then I pick one and I make it real. I pick another one and I make it real. And I was doing it with a lot of negative thoughts. I would choose a thought and I'd make it real. So instead of choosing all these negative thoughts, I started choosing more positive thoughts. And it takes work. It takes changing pathways, brain patterns. So I started thinking more on the positive thoughts and started forcing the negative thoughts down, letting them float away. I changed my perspective of my current reality. And then I started seeing like, wow, my reality, it's not actually that bad. It was just my perspective of it. So I changed my perspective of my reality, became a happier person, and then because of that, then my reality started changing immensely. And that's when I met her. And then once I met her, she just completely shifted my reality to what it's never been in my entire life. And it just keeps getting better and better and better. Yes, a person in your life is going to make it a lot better, but you need to change yourself first. I had to go on my own journey. I had to go through a lot of depression. I had to go through a lot of very dark, negative thoughts, go through a lot of pain, come out the other side, and now things are better than they've ever been. They just keep getting better and better. So I had to get myself ready for a light worker, a light being like her, and then she turned me into that. And now we walk around everywhere sharing light, spreading light. It's contagious. She was a very positive, happy, light-bringing person. She gave it to me like a virus, a very positive virus, and now I got the virus, and now I'm just so happy beyond belief, and now I'm spreading it to others. You can look at it like it's a contagious, amazing light virus, and we just keep spreading it everywhere we go. People can pick up on that. So change your perspective of your circumstances, be the awareness of it, and then your circumstance, because of your positivity, new positive mindset, then your circumstances are actually going to start changing. You start attracting people to you, circumstances to you, and then your life is going to change around for the better. But first, you have to do the change in yourself. That's the most important part. And it's not as hard as you think. And you don't even have to start with meditation first. Just intentional thought. Like, man, really? Like, think about it. Is this situation really that bad? Is whatever I'm thinking about really that bad? No. Then you start thinking about like other people in other third world countries. Like, man, I feel I have it so much better. I have a roof over my head. I got unlimited food whenever I want. I have a consistent job. I have a comfy bed. Like, look at all the positive things you have in your life, the people you have in your life. And even if you have like negative experience with the people in your life, how can you turn those into a positive light? Once you start looking at everything in a positive light, your whole reality shifts, and it's insane. And it doesn't happen overnight. It could happen within days, weeks, months, could be years, but you can choose to make it happen within literally days or weeks, month, 2 at the most. And that's how I found it. It literally happened after I met her especially, my reality changed within a month or less. All the negative brain patterns I had just floated away.
And it's knowing that you have the power for that. I will say, one of the books that I have all of my students read is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. This is a really great explanation of how your thoughts in the quantum field actually manifest and how you can shift it. Because we all have unhealthy brain patterns and connections and things that we do that we don't even realize is affecting our reality. And that book, I think, is a game changer. So I would definitely recommend that one. And another thing that is critical is asking for the answers, because we all have the ability to do this. We all have the ability to channel. We all have the ability to access this causal consciousness, to access versions of your higher self. And if you don't know what to do, your spirit guides, your other versions of yourself are there all of the time, giving you hints, giving you synchronicities, giving you messages. And it's, again, removing layers to get to the point where you can receive those messages. And this is what I teach my clients and students all the time. It's like, you have to figure out how you're receiving your messages. I'm a clairaudient, so I hear. I hear messages like it's another voice in my head, but I know that it's something different. I am claircognizant, where I just know things. You see angel numbers. That's a synchronicity. Angel numbers don't always mean what you think that they do. They don't always mean that you're on the right path, and they don't always mean like warning, warning. But it is your guides connecting with you and saying, pay attention. There's something to pay attention to here. But it's like you're receiving nudges from your intuition. It's inner. And even things that you're receiving from your higher self. It's the perception of maybe from the outside. But if you sit in silence, you will receive your messages. That is the number one thing that all humans need to do more, is we need to sit in silence and give ourselves time to tune in and say, what are these messages I'm receiving? Is this a positive thought? Is it something that's not serving me? Is it something that's making me manifest things that I don't want in my life? And let me stop it, because we do a lot of that, spiraling. You chase a thought pops up, it's a negative thought. You take it and you start chasing it, and then you go down this spiral where all of a sudden your whole entire being feels low vibrational and feels lethargic and feels like you did that to yourself, right? When you follow that thought, you are causing that, and it's this radical responsibility to say, like, I created this reality that is no longer serving me, and in this second, I could change the things that need to change. And yes, it comes from the inside. Sometimes there are things on the outside that need to change, but focusing on following your thoughts and seeing how those are manifesting in your life. Lots of doors have been closed for me this last year, and I have no idea what to do next regarding jobs. Doors closing is also sometimes divine intervention. If you're not listening to the messages that you're receiving, it's going to feel like your world is falling apart, because things are going to start fading from your life. And it's learning that this is a positive thing, that this is forcing you down a path that maybe you wouldn't have gone down before.
It's a path of growth.
And that's uncomfortable. And we're so used to comfort that when things start getting uncomfortable, we think that that's a bad thing, but this is actually a positive thing. So the best thing that you can do is tune in.
Being uncomfortable is the best thing that'll ever happen to you. Like, stay uncomfortable as often as you can, and those uncomfortable things will no longer be uncomfortable.
He's like the king of this. He has taught me so much about that, because I've realized my conditioning and the way that I have lived my life is definitely in a lot of comfort, and we do a lot of avoiding of the things that are hard. And so it's a shift for me too, honestly. It's
like uncomfortableness is the only thing that will make you grow. You have to get uncomfortable as often as you can. If you're not getting uncomfortable, you're not growing. But then eventually the stuff that's uncomfortable is not even uncomfortable anymore. It's just a new challenge. It's a fun challenge. And it could be with anything, with like eating habits, drinking habits, working out, jobs, traveling, going to like bars or clubs that you're uncomfortable going to, walk in a certain part of town that you're uncomfortable to walk around. Like, it doesn't matter. Just do anything to make yourself uncomfortable. Get out of your comfort zone, you'll start growing.
And then you get used to it.
One thing also too is don't escape the present moment. Like, sometimes the present moment is very uncomfortable. Like, if you just sit in silence or just be in your own silence and ponder, like, a lot of uncomfortable stuff is going to come up. So be with those thoughts. We always try to distract ourselves, like, oh, I want to watch this movie right now. I want to go eat this snack, go to the movies, go to the mall, buy something. Like, we're always trying to escape the present moment, because the present moment is painful until it's the most beautiful thing you'll ever experience. So don't try to distract yourself from the present moment, because that's where your true self is. That's where all the answers lie. That's where everything is to get yourself out of your current situation if you're not happy, and to even be more happy if you are happy right now. The present moment has all the answers you need. And the biggest part of where that comes from is in meditation. The true present moment is in meditation. And I highly recommend learning how to meditate properly. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, just try it, get better at it, increase 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, and just keep going from there. And it doesn't even have to be a certain amount of time. Just sit with yourself and see what happens. Allow the thoughts to come, let them float away, and start creating those different brain patterns.
Yeah, you're welcome. I always say this, I feel like it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's simple things that we have to do, but it just takes doing it. And a lot of times your self is going to want to push away the things that you know are best for you. And one of those things is sitting in silence. And we always think of excuses, like, oh, I've got something else to do. I want to do this. I want to do that. But that is the number one thing. And get that book by Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That's a great place to start. And it's going to put a lot of things into perspective.
And society makes us feel like it's so boring to just sit there and be in meditation. Like, what is even going to happen if I just sit there and do nothing? It's actually very beautiful. Like, at first, yeah, it's boring as hell. And you're like, why am I doing this? This feels so silly. It only feels like that the first couple times. And then it starts becoming really fun. Like, oh my God, what am I even going to think in here? What am I going to process? What am I going to imagine? And then you get to the point where you actually take away all the imaginary thoughts, all the thoughts all together. And then you realize, like, in pure silence of no thought, what actually comes to you. And I don't want to give it away, but it's amazing what you find within the silence of yourself. The most beautiful euphoria you'll ever experience, better than any drug you could ever do, is getting high in your own supply of your own self. What is in the present moment of total silence.
And we can't even tell you. It's like something you have to access for yourself. I remember when I went to my meditation retreat and like hit this, I did 10 days in silence, but I hit a crazy point in meditation, and I wrote in my notebook, like, meditation is like Fight Club. Like, you can't talk about it. Like, why? I was like, why don't people talk about this? Like, what you're feeling, what you're experiencing. And it felt like Fight Club, like, number one rule, don't speak about Fight Club. But it's like, you literally can't. You can't put it into words. It's a feeling. It's something that you'll feel. I struggle with letting go a lot. Yeah.
Yes, so do I. I would hold so many grudges on just previous relationships, old friendships, people who pissed me off just like out and about in the street. I would just stew on it, and you just gotta learn to let it go. It doesn't matter. You like learn to laugh at everything. Like, they are just in their own shit, trying to pull you into their shit, and I let myself be weak in the moment, and I let them pull me into their stuff. Like, it's just, we all are pulling each other in with our thoughts, with our energy, and it's affecting each other. Like, be in your own self, fix your own self, and project love and light out, and other people are going to get that from you. But the more we like grab these thoughts in our own mind and project them to others, it's going to pull them into our crap. And you just got to let everything go. Like, everything is just funny. It's just cosmic play. They're in their own shit. You're in your own shit. They're worried about, like, you looking at them. You're worried about them looking at you. We're all just word, anxious. But work on yourself. Like, be the example of, like, in a situation where you could have yelled at someone, you could have cut somebody off and try to get back at them. Just, like, let it go. Like, just see what happens if you just keep letting go in every circumstance, and you're going to be so much happier for it.
I want to channel a little bit on that too, about letting go, just to see what comes from. Yeah, it's like knowing your own power is a huge part of it. So I see this a lot with clients of mine when I tap into their journey. This is a very common theme of, like, notice when you're addicted to not feeling good.
Yeah.
Because some of these emotions and feelings come from childhood, and you maybe don't even know how long you've been doing it for, but we sometimes get addicted to things that feel bad because we find comfort in it, because it reminds us of our childhood, it reminds us of our past, or it's a familiar feeling. But understanding what actually isn't serving you. So starting to pay attention to what you're feeling in your body. So, like, what is it that you're feeling like you can't let go of? And how is that thing and gripping onto it actually making you feel? Because chances are it's making you feel anxious. It's making you feel sad. Maybe it's a pit in your heart and you're, like, closing in. Maybe it's a pit in your stomach. Maybe you feel a weight on your shoulders. Starting to become very aware of the sensations that you're feeling in your body. And does this feel good? Or am I just addicted to this feeling, and feeling that heaviness in your shoulders starts to feel familiar, but it doesn't feel good? What would feel good is kind of that light feeling airy, having your heart space feel open, having your stomach feel at peace and not like in knots. So it all comes down to awareness. What am I feeling? How is this making me feel? Have I felt this before? Is this serving me? Is it serving my purpose? Because, again, the outside influences you, but it is your choice what you decide to do with the information or the energy that you're receiving. And this spiritual awakening path is about raising your consciousness and having these moments where you're like, okay, you said letting go. So there's something that I'm holding on to. There's something I'm gripping to. How is it making me feel? And is this thing trying to leave my life? And why do I feel the need to grip onto it? And it's we have so many self-sabotaging ways, and it's becoming aware of that and saying, what am I doing in this situation that is self-sabotaging the path that I want to be on? And it's really looking in the mirror and knowing that you have the ability to decide right now if you could just let it go. And how would that feel to let it go? And you need to witness the emotions that are coming up, and you need to witness the things that you're feeling. And it's not bypassing the sadness or the hurt or the anger or the triggers. It's recognizing them. It's being the awareness of them, and also being the awareness to say, all that I need to do is witness the emotion that's trying to come forth. I don't have to act on it. So if you're feeling triggered, if somebody triggers you, because really it's us being triggered by the thing,
Yeah,
but if
everyone's a mirror for our own self.
Yeah, so if you're feeling triggered in a situation, it's not the other thing or other person triggering you. It's noticing, I am triggered right now. This is triggering me. And my, let's say, innate ability is to lash out. But you can have the awareness that that's what you want to do, and then say, I'm going to choose not to do it, because if I lash out, then that's going to trigger the other person. And then this is going to turn into a low vibrational battle. Or I could witness and say, I'm feeling triggered. What would be the best thing for me to do to hold my vibration right now? And then you don't do the thing, and then you get to witness the effects of not doing the thing. And then you have the awareness to say, okay, if I did the thing, this is what would have played out. But because I didn't do the thing, I feel better. So finding it within you, there is nothing on the outside that is controlling you. There is nothing on the outside that is influencing you. It is all a reflection of how you are treating yourself, how you're talking to yourself. I don't know. I feel like that's it.
It's easier than you think.
Yeah, but it does take work. Yeah. Like, it's not going to happen the first time. And it's not linear. It's a roller coaster. It's a ride. You're going to have ups. You're going to have downs. You're going to find what works for you, but it's going against the grain and maybe doing things that you haven't done before, and being willing to change your mind, being willing to change your thought patterns, being willing to change your habits. And once you practice with those things, you'll notice that your life, the vibration starts to raise, and the things that brought you down before will cease to exist. Like,
and it stays that way. As your vibration raises, it stays. Like, you have a little dip, it comes back down again, and then it'll only last like 10 minutes instead of lasting days like it happened last time. You might be upset for like 10 minutes instead of days like a normal, and then you're right back to good again. And like, your vibration literally keeps raising and raising. I've been experiencing this in myself. Like, old things that have taken me down for so long, I feel it. Like, feel it. It's okay. Feel it. Let it go, and then back to your high vibration. It just keeps raising and raising and raising. And it's our ego that cares. It's our ego that cares about being embarrassed. It's our ego that cares about being anxious, or letting someone have the last word, or having someone have something over us. Like, our ego is the only thing that cares. The ego is not real. It's created from this lifetime, and you let that ego go, and you're free. It's only the ego that cares about all this human bullshit. You let the ego go, and you're going to be happier than you've ever been in your entire existence. Mm-hmm. Not letting the ego go. Okay, so
you're
more...
welcome.
Huh?
They said thank you, so you're welcome.
So more on the soul experiencing itself from source. So what is the process of a soul experiencing itself apart from source? Is it that soul's decision entirely? How do souls just come out of source and enter the dream state to experience individuality? How are they called to do it? So is it just like, I'm asking, is it a random occurrence where a source just like wants to seek individuality from its source self? Or are they pushed by an outside circumstance? Like, how does that happen? How does you're in source and then you drop down into the dream state? Because anything less than source is dream. So you're dropping into the dream and experiencing your own individuality. So what is that push that makes a soul become its own individual for the first time and enter the dream state to experience individual reality?
And we ask this question because we know that free will is a big part of this experience, and we all did split from source point, and we all are an offspring, let's say, of that original source point. And so we've done some channeling in the past about this, so now it's like, okay, what causes that? Because I'll just kind of tap back in again to do some review of kind of what we've channeled before, but Source started at an original point, and Source became conscious, and Source wanted to get to know itself, and through this divided itself, separation, creation, within itself, split. And we all come from that split, from that original source point of Source wanting to get to know itself, to experience itself, because one of the first emotions, thoughts, not one of the first, but one of the emotions that started this was Source was lonely and felt power, but didn't necessarily know what it was, and so split itself in order to experience it. So let's tap into the free will of that and how it happened. So yeah, it's very similar actually to creation in the 3D, but in a higher sense. So from a source point, it didn't just split into, it didn't split into our soul saying, I'm ready to be conscious now. It's creation. So like we do here, it takes two opposites to come together and to create another. So through the reproductive birthing process, it's similar to that, where it takes the consciousness and it takes duality to create, and then the byproduct of that is another soul of creation. It doesn't happen in the same exact way that it does here in the 3D. Duality is still a part of it. So two opposites of
masculine,
one.
feminine, good, evil, positive, negative.
But those are also labels. So the labels aren't as definitive. It's more like dark and light. Shadow and light. It's more like shadow and light is like the all-encompassing of it all. And from conscious shadow and light, it creates more shadow and light. And there is some element of like dark light shadow is almost what it looks like. Dark light shadow. So the shadow is a byproduct of the light and the dark perceiving each other.
So it's like the sun is beating on a human body, and then there's a shadow projected from the human body. So that's what you're kind of saying.
Yeah, like as you would perceive a shadow on the human body, it's like the elements of dark and light are coming together to create a shadow.
And the shadow is the dream state that we're all in. Light and dark coming together to project the shadow, and we're all that shadow experiencing this dream state right now.
It's a projection, but in the sense of shadow that it's real. So it's not projection as in simulation. Yes, it's projection where it's the light and the dark create a shadow. And that would be if you were physically looking at your shadow, it is the elements of dark and light coming together to create something that is but isn't physical. So you can see it and it's real. You could see your shadow and it's real, but can you grab it? No. Which makes an element of it not real. So that's where we say like reality versus non-reality. Like, is this real? Is this physical? It's a shadow.
We consider like physical reality real, and anything that's not physical unreal. But actually non-physical reality is more real than physical reality. It's just hard to picture it that way. And source itself, our source self, is actual reality, and anything dropped down from it is actually non-reality, a dream state.
Projection.
It's a projection from source.
But it still is its thing. Like, it's still a thing. It doesn't make it any less a thing. So, yeah, to the original question, like, the shadow, we are a product of the dark and light, and then from that created our consciousness and our soul.
But, like, what is the initial drop down to that? Like, how does that keep happening? Or are we just not meant to know that? How does it happen? Because source is popping out into divisions of itself endlessly.
It's very similar to the birthing process, though. It is. The dark, the light duality comes together and, like, births us. It's like a cosmic birth.
And is that soul's choice? That I want to be birthed now. So just I want to be birthed now.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I'm ready to separate myself from source. I want to be birthed now, and then it just does it.
Because in the human...
Is this a thought that has?
because in the human incarnation we have a choice. Like, we choose to come here. So that's why you're like, did we choose or did we not? So what I'm seeing is from the initial source point of duality, that's how our soul was created. So our soul was created, and that's when free will started. Mm-hmm. Was when our soul was created from the duality.
But we created ourselves, so how do we decide I want to be an individual now?
But we also are the light and the dark.
Right.
But it's still that perception of reality that like our human perception is that that's not us. But it's very like, okay, so picture it this way. When we always existed in our mom's womb before we were born. And we also existed in our grandma's womb because our grandma carried our mom in her eggs, and even before her eggs were fertilized, our mom existed there. And then in our mom, we always existed there because we were always there. It was until creation, but like a part of us was always there. So a part of our soul was always from the original source point. We were always in the womb. Mm-hmm. So we were always there, and we always existed, and we were always a part of it.
But we were never an individual yet. Now we're individuals.
It's almost like a different form of soul consciousness. Like our soul had consciousness, and then we were able to move forward from there with free will. But it's like we always existed. So it's not like we didn't exist because we were always in the womb of source.
What was the initial wanting to be an individual, like being birthed into an individual soul? How did that happen?
It was through the consciousness of others. So like our parents had consciousness to have us. It was through the consciousness of the soul or of the spirit.
So it's not random. It's not necessarily planned.
No, it's not just popped out unconsciously. Mm. It's like birth here. Some of it's planned, some of it's unplanned, some of it just happens.
It seems like when you're ready, like we're all source, and when you're ready to experience individuality, you're like, okay, I'm ready. And then you just decide it and go.
That's not what I said.
It was just kind of confusing.
It's similar to birth here but it's not because that initial source point is where our consciousness came and when our free will started. So we were always a part of source. We're in it. Source split 1-2. That 1-2 came together and split another. I'm kind of drawing like source split together, split.
And that just happens infinitely.
Yeah. Looks like that. Comprende?
I don't know.
We come back to a lot of this stuff too. We'll like channel something and then we'll come back. I see your question. We're just not doing any specific channeling. But I do one question readings, which is in my bio. If you want something in particular, we might do live channelings another time. But that's a perfect one question reading right there.
Okay, so this is going to be a little less complicated, hopefully. So the universe is all here and now, and we only see the physical of the universe now, and that can be perceived with our 5 senses. So in the physical universe, is there other life on other planets and in other galaxies in the same dimension as us of the physical universe in the 3D? So right now we perceive the whole physical universe. We are in the 3rd dimension of the universe right now, currently. Are there other beings, 3rd dimension beings, in other planets or other solar systems of this 3D part of the universe? Like, are we not alone in 3D reality?
In 3D. So in our universe, we're the only 3D, which doesn't mean we're the only physical. There's other physical, but they're 4D.
Okay, so Earth has humans. Humans are the only physical beings of the 3rd dimension of the entire universe.
Of our universe.
Well, there's only one universe, so of our
galaxy.
Of our galaxy. So in our galaxy, we're the only physical life in 3D. Now we go outside of our galaxy, other solar systems, there's more 3D life. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that's probably just endless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so other beings that exist in our solar system are 4D, 5D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so in our solar system, of 3D reality. We are the only physical life. Then you get out of our galaxy, out of our solar system.
We're not the only physical life. We're the only 3D.
Well, I mean, I can, like, only physical. Like, the other beings are, like, can be physical and non-physical, whatever they want. Yeah. So within this reality. So then you go into another solar system.
Just got chills.
There's more planets, more stars, more planets, and there's more 3D life. And are they like human or totally different physical 3D beings?
They're different. There's something about humans only being able to be on Earth. So, like, anything else that exists is not, like, human. And there have been other versions of human on Earth. But yeah, other 3D beings are not what we would consider human.
So we would consider them alien if we were to see them. They're still 3D beings like us. They look different. They're physical like us. But we would consider them aliens. So.
Yeah, because 3D is our access to everything. So, like 3D means that they are physical and they have the ability to tap into, like, 4D, 5D like we do, but they're not in that. So, yeah, to us, they would look like something alien.
But they are physical.
But they are physical, yeah, with the same 3D constraints that humans have. So, like, we wouldn't necessarily come across them because they have the same constraints that we do. They can't reach us and we can't reach them.
Yeah, they can't leave their galaxy to come visit us. Mm-mm. So the aliens that are visiting us, we call them aliens, but higher dimensional beings that are visiting us, they're coming from within our galaxy, but from higher dimensions.
Or they're coming from other galaxies and higher dimensions.
Yeah.
So, like, the higher dimensions can reach us from other galaxies.
And that's unlimited. I mean, we're being visited from 4D beings all the way up to 18 plus.
Oh, yeah, and they're coming from all over because when they're in 4D, 5D, they don't have the same limitations as we do in 3D. Mm-hmm. They don't need transportation to get to us. They can get to us in other ways.
Right. So 3D, we're the only life in this 3D galaxy. Mm-hmm. And then you have others in other galaxies. And there's just probably an endless amount of those galaxies. How many versions of Earth are there? Because then there's different versions of Earth. There's different parallel realities. So approximately how many versions of this 3D Earth are there within this galaxy?
So our perception of, like, the different realities would, like, blow our mind. It's like we think that they would be like, here's a parallel reality, here's a parallel reality. Like human brains perceive parallel realities.
Yeah.
Like that. But really,
it's just a mess. It's like a sound wave.
But really they're like that and even closer together. So it's like, it's kind of like I'm seeing, if you look at Earth, what are those things where, like, you see it and then it goes like, and, like, you see all the, like, shadows of it, kind of like the transparency thing, like the transparency thing on, no, like, what is it called when you do the transparency, like, on Canva? Anybody like, what is that called where you, like,
zoom, you know, transparency in and out?
So it's getting, like, lighter and darker and there's almost no, like, differentiation because it's so slight when you go from, like, transparent to more opaque and you're, like, slowly going. It's like that, but with Earth. So the overlay is that, yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? Yeah, it's like that's how many parallel realities are. So it's like infinite, but it's not. Yeah, like it is, but it isn't. Like, but our perception is that we could, like, palpably point out the different parallel realities, but they all, like, overlap each other and they're, like, so slight that there could be, like, a sliver of hair difference between the realities. Like, that's how, like, close these lines would be, is, like, one strand of hair.
Now I'm curious, out of all the dimensions, so what we're aware of is there's roughly 18 full dimensions. Yes. And there's always new dimensions being created, but as of now there's about 18 full dimensions. So I'm kind of curious, like, out of all the dimensions, what is the largest dimension population? Like, what dimension has the largest population of beings in it?
5.
5 has the... Okay, so 5, mm-hmm. Fifth dimension has the most population. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, so 3D, we have the ability to access 5D, so that has a part of it that, like, 3D and 4D can access 5D. and then anything above it can also go back to it. So it's kind of like, it's an anchor point because it's where the really high vibrations start, but also the low vibrations can still access it. So it's like a homeostasis almost, like we dropped here lower, but we are from that vibration. So it's like, if there were to be a like meeting hub, like it's all in like the 5D, because we all have equal access to it. It's just the higher dimensions can access it easier than we can access here.
Interesting. So what dimension has the lowest population in it?
3D.
3D.
By far. Because even 1D and 2D are like way more. I mean, think about how many like rocks are on the planet, beings, like non-conscious beings. Yeah, so we should talk about that. The different.
Just like, rocks.
Yeah, just, so one dimension. Yeah.
Like one-dimensional beings, like rocks. What else? Dirt.
Yeah, things that don't have like any consciousness.
Metals. Yeah.
And then 2D.
2D. That'd be more plants. I think more plant life.
Animals.
Yeah, plant and animal life. 3D would be a human life. 4D is like between, you're like pretty much a ghost. Like just getting into the astral realm, the non-physical realm.
And these are also forms of consciousness too. So it's not just like physical. So we can access the 4D where we have more abilities. Same thing with 5D. And then it goes beyond.
And it just gets more and more ethereal as you go up. Less and less physical as you go up.
So, like, that's why aliens are higher dimensional beings.
They're not necessarily aliens. They're just, we call anything that's not human, we call alien. They're just higher dimensional beings is all they are.
Well, it's the same with spirit guides and angels and all of the people who have passed, right? They're different. When we pass from this life, there are different high vibrational states that we can reach. And so what I access through channeling, what we're accessing through the causal, through those higher vibrations, are just higher vibrational beings. We just like to create the separation in terms of like giving them a name and calling them something, but yeah, it's different vibrations. So yeah, the 3D is the least amount because there's only so much 3D possibility here on Earth.
Right.
And then the 5D, everybody has access to.
Yeah. Okay.
Do we want to end it there? Or do we have another one that goes with that?
No, not that goes with that. Well, it kind of goes with that.
Okay.
Okay, so I've lived 1,250 human lives. Have I lived other lives outside of being a human? And if so, what was I?
Ooh, that's good. I'm getting chills. I mean, we have channeled about Bosriel.
Right.
So, like, that was...
He's like a 15-dimensional version of myself.
Uh-huh. So you asked, what were you? I mean, there's so many different things on the other side. So, like, one of the things that you've been that's a possibility for people to be is, like, an astral warrior. Astral warrior. So it's, like, fighting some of these, like, 5D battles that are going on. You spent time there. You spent time in, like, what I'm seeing as, like, a library almost. There's just, like, cosmic library. You were not a librarian. It was similar to, like, a researcher. Like, in the cosmic library, like, researching. Yeah, it's funny because as above, so below. So there's, like, a lot of elements in these higher vibrations that look very similar to how they do here, but different. Like, obviously... You could use your imagination to picture what, like, a cosmic library looks like, of just, like, ethereal light, like, even beyond, like, Harry Potter status, you know? Like, what else is, like,
rose.
Just, like, and it's, like, all in light. Everything above 3D is, like, light and frequency. So, like, yeah, it's, like, this cosmic researcher researching these, like, encyclopedias. And it's, like, on the other side, we all have jobs. Like, similar to here... We have jobs. Like, being a spirit guide is a job. So, like, your job was to, like, research things for other beings.
And these jobs are to relieve previous karma from your existence, and to just evolve your soul. So it's not like a job here where you don't want to be there. You actually want to
you're, like, excited and you love it, which is, like...
evolving from it.
which is what we're trying to access more here, is jobs where like people
and it's not like a
feel
9 to 5 job. You're loving every second of it. It's not work to you.
Yeah, you haven't been on those like committee boards that we've seen before. So there's
we don't have to get into
yeah,
that.
we don't have to get into that. Another time. Yeah, I mean, you've definitely been a lot of like light beings.
Just ethereal light beings.
Yeah, we don't have like words for it,
like,
but
could be like angel, or it could be some other kind of.
It's not angel.
Ethereal, astral.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different other ethereal beings, and like that is also why, you know, whatever you have been, you feel connection. You feel connection to. You remember, like you could remember those other parts of you too, is why you feel connected to maybe learning about like outer space, or maybe you're obsessed with different concepts, or maybe you're like, you know, maybe researching in this life is something you're good at, and that comes from even being on the other side. It's not even just like past lives that we're accessing here, it's past vibrational forms that we've been in, or lack thereof of forms that we've been in. So yeah, definitely seeing a lot of that, which is really cool. So what they're trying to show us now is the researcher and the warrior, and I think the reason why they're showing us those two is like they want you to access that here and now, or understand why you're accessing that here and now. It's like you've been in researcher mode the past like 6 months, and now it's kind of like warrior mode, because, you know, back to like shit that's going on in the world right now, like we're all having to buck up in warrior mode and like utilize our skills to hold our vibration and also influence the vibration of the planet, because intention is everything. Like your vibration and your intention radiates into the entire world. So when things feel unpredictable or uncertain, it's not allowing yourself to get wrapped up in that. And so your soul is going to want to remind you of your divinity now more than ever, of like what your past connections are. And that's going to tell you a lot of how you can help in the present moment. If you think that your vibration and your thoughts and your feelings don't affect the planet, like we need to talk, because it really is beyond what you could possibly imagine, the influence that you have with your thoughts alone. So they're kind of showing you that to like show you like tap into these parts of you right now, because obviously your researcher mode is going to help with what you're creating right now. And then the warrior, I mean, there is spiritual warfare going on right now, and you know, we're not afraid of it. We're ready. I
asked for it like earlier, months ago, how can I join in the spiritual battle going on, and I got my
you got your wish.
So approximately, if they'll even answer, like how many in human years, how many years ago did I become an individual from source?
For some reason I was getting this number. I don't know what you were going to ask earlier. Maybe this is like how many other lives you've lived. So I had to give you that first. What was your question again?
So I was going to ask how many like alien lives have I lived? And it looks like you
said
that, yeah. 1332. But how in like human years, how many years ago did my soul separate itself from source in human years? If that's even possible.
Oh, that's like scary for me.
That's gotta be a big number. Because also between human lives, between alien lives, between other ethereal lives, there's time, a lot of time in between those. Like you don't just necessarily go back to back to back, incarnating in a bunch of different lives. You spend time in between too. But
also time is an illusion. It's like our illusion of time.
Well, time is in the created cosmos, the dream below source. Time exists there, and then time does not exist where source is. And time, it becomes less and less real as you get higher and higher to source. So do you think that number?
That's what came through. I don't know.
230,472. 230,472 years ago. So like almost 250,000 human years ago. Mm-hmm. What about you? The numbers are weird because it's hard to trust yourself.
I know. This is like my what's it, Achilles heel or whatever. Yeah. It's like the thing where I'm like, this is hard. Did you get to see the dinosaurs? Hopefully.
But that's not necessarily I've been human for that long. Like I don't even know when.
Yeah, because it's like human. His number of human lives doesn't necessarily mean it was
doesn't
like
equate.
And also there's another rabbit hole about dinosaurs. We should channel that another time. I actually like that. Yeah. There are things that are buzzing to me of like, well, what we think we know about.
It's not like I remember this. Like I've never heard this number, like 230,472. Like I don't remember that. I will remember it after this life, but right now I don't. I could tap into it maybe eventually when I'm ready to know this knowledge. But like that number doesn't really mean anything to me. Yeah, it just means I've been around a long time.
I used to not want to channel these numbers for him because I'm like, this isn't helpful. Yeah. Like that,
it's not. It's just fun. It's just.
I'm a believer in channeling things that are helpful. So yeah, this is just fun, and also it's like intense for me because like when I randomly pull out a number, I guess that's the one thing where I still like question, which I shouldn't. Right? We should never question our abilities, but it's like numbers are not my strong suit. So when I do this, I'm like, oh my god, this is like so intense.
And this is like forcing her to get uncomfortable. Like I've been trying to get her to get uncomfortable and try to bring out more abilities and doing stuff like this.
Yeah. Because I used to be like, I'm not doing that. I'm not pulling like a random number. Like, okay, this is scary for mine because I'm getting a way bigger number.
And I am too. I'm kind of getting something bigger too.
I don't know. Let me do that again. Whoa, I read it the same. Whoa. I like closed my eyes because I like looked at the number and I questioned it. And I'm like, let me just close my eyes and like I could let the like pen kind of take over, and the number was the same, which I literally don't retain numbers, so that's like proving it.
Tyguenne's soul, which her name is not actually Tyguenne, and just her human name is Tyguenne, but her soul has been around 734,253 lives. 734,000. So she is way older than me. Like way older.
I like I'm young.
That's crazy.
Oh, that was fun.
So she's a lot more experience. That's fun.
And experience, again, or time doesn't always mean experience either, because it's like some souls choose to learn things. Your skin. Thank you. Oh my god. Your skincare routine is working, girl. Thank you.
Such an old lady.
That's so funny. It's that cosmic, like stardust. Ooh, is this $1 million idea? Create this like cosmic skincare line.
Tyguenne's cosmic stardust. Cosmic stardust skincare line.
Do I look 700,000 years old? You would never know. There's something about this. I love that. Cosmic stardust.
And like we've tapped into how our souls kind of are on the more ethereal astral side. Like you've always been more of a playful soul, just kind of floating around having fun, and I've been more of like a kind of like serious and not serious, like dude, let's go, let's do it. Like I just do all the crazy things, like just a thrill seeker. My soul's like a thrill seeker, like fuck it, let's go. And yours is just more like a floaty fairy, just like whatever, man, I'll just do it all. I'll experience it all.
Which is true. Like we carry that from our soul, and it's like we've looked at a lot of your past, even like human lives, and it's a lot of warrior energy where you like have to buck up and get shit done. And a lot of my past energy literally is like I'm chilling in my like sparkly sunglasses, sipping my mojito. Like, don't bother me.
It's been easy for me to push myself and get uncomfortable in this life because this is not the first life that I've been doing that. So I've had practice for a long time, and she's just been floating, having a good time, party girl.
But then we taught each other. So like I've taught him to like chill out a little more, and then he's taught me where I need to, because that's like the one piece that was missing for me, and then the one piece that was missing for him. Like for him to like relax, and for me like okay, there's a time and a place to be disciplined, which I'm still learning.
I needed more loosey-goosey, being in the present moment, and she needed more like discipline.
Which is our soul. It's not even just in this like human incarnation, which is wild. Like we actually, what was it that we channeled? That like 80%.
I was just going to say, like who we are right now is about 80% of what our soul actually is. The best parts of it. And the not so good parts of it too. But it's like it's mostly the best parts of what our soul is. A lot of the negative parts of our soul right now is just human created in our ego that we created in this life.
It's not even negative, it's like the shadow.
Yeah, it's like our shadow. It's to gain more perspective. We have to go through a lot of dark, a lot of hard times to gain perspective, to enjoy the good times more. Yeah, about 80% of who we are right now is who our soul actually is, which is wild. But that extra 20% is actually a lot more than just a human 20% too.
Totally. The 20% also carries like a lot of weight. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed it. This is what we do on our weekends. So if you like it, I'm going to post this. So if you enjoyed this, please like, comment, all of the things to let us know that this is something that you want to see again. If you're curious about your own questions, of course, I'm always here for readings. I have multiple tiers of offers. You could do a 1 question, a 30-minute, an hour. If you're looking to tap into your superpowers, this is the perfect time to do it. So spiritual mentorship is always here for you. And of course, if you just want to hit me up, hit Tyler up in the DMs, we're always happy to have cosmic conversations too. But we hope you have a beautiful day, and until next time.
Thank you guys.
Toodles poodles.